pistachio, so my energy is 100% through the roof. Tip 1, practice, practice, practice. It's literally easier said than done. Cannot emphasize this enough, but practice, practice, practice. P-R-A-C-T-I-C-E, practice. That's literally the first big tip that I can give you. It's literally the easiest tip that I could probably give you. I could literally end this stream right now and be like, just practice and I'll be gone. But you know what? We're not doing that because I'm not lazy. But practice. Either you're writing or you're speaking or you're listening or any other ing-ing-ings. You need, nay, you must practice. Why must you practice, my dear? Practicing helps you get aware of the language and to also help you in seeing them in context and to give your brain a good memory workout it needs, because honestly, nowadays we definitely need our brains to work out because we're practically all brain dead because we are in a very difficult time now that I won't say, but you all know what time we're going through right now. You all know. I don't have to say it out loud. No, you're just in time, man. You're just in time. We literally just got on the first slide. I mean, this is the second slide, but the first slide was kind of like a brief introduction. But you just came just in time. We just started this journey. You are okay. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. Practice, my dudes. Just like how you practice your VTubering and your marketing and your networking, making connections. Languages also need to be practiced too. It is so a simple tip that not a lot of people take to heart, man. Not a lot of people take to heart. It's practice. It helps you to get a keen awareness of a language prior to going through the nitty-gritty. It helps you see it in a context, whether in a polite or impolite situation. Plus, your brain can get more stronger and your brain can literally memorize more words and sentences and contexts if you just practice the simple necessities of learning a language. Like, it seems simple enough just to say practice, but there's more to that than just saying practice, okay? It takes more than that. Here are some of my practice tips. Again, I'm not an expert, but these are some of the practice tips that I basically use for myself. You can take these as you like, but it's just like, take this as you like, okay? Take this, learn from these, and you'll be fine. One of my first practice tips is try finding audio of people speaking in the native language that you are trying to learn and really digest and study from them. Ask yourself questions, write down questions saying, what does this line of sentence mean? What is the grammar? How does the grammar work? How is it said in an accent? How's the accent work? How does the tone work? Is it used formally? Is it used informally? How is the tone? Etc. and etc. And we'll get more to audio of people speaking in the later slides. But for now, you can literally go on language places like, if you're learning Japanese, you could literally search up Japanese YouTubers or VTubers that are native in that language and get some sort of sense into them. Get some sort of sense as to how they're addressing people in a casual or formal way. How is the accent work? How does the tone work? How does the grammar structure work? You may not know what they're saying, but just listening to them can give you a good feel as to how you should be pronunciating certain words or all of the words in a certain tone that doesn't seem like I don't know, let's just say, does it seem like you're an American trying to speak another language and being super insensitive? And I'm not calling anybody out. I've just said, I'm not calling anybody out. Don't say I'm calling anybody out. For this, having something visual to complement can help give additional content. Yeah. But this is having something visual to complement can help give additional context. That's true, that's true. That's true. Some people are more visual learners than auditory things. And you know, there are multiple sources that can give you an auditory / visual learning experience. You don't just have to look at text and say that's how you're gonna learn. Look, I'm personally myself, I am more of the visual learner than, say, auditory. I like looking at the pictures, I like looking at the diagrams and to seeing what am I learning, how does it work, and how can I emphasize this in a smart and efficient way. Okay? So there are different types of learners in the world. If you're auditory, you're better much going through like learning it with audiobooks or something like that. If you're visual, then you're most likely going to use either PowerPoints or charts or picture books or something like that. Again, everybody has their own style to basically learn any language or anything at all, and you just gotta make it work for you. That works in your sort of visual space, you know? That makes sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Look at me being a teacher and look at me being a teacher. Me being a sensei. I'm the sensei, you're the kohai. And I'm teaching you the wisdom of me. Okay, I'm telling you, this is gonna be a very short PowerPoint. I'm telling you, man. So, let's continue with an example. If you're learning Japanese and it did keep going. Oh my. Let's just say, like a good 99.9999999% of you people watching or have been in the VTuber space since God knows how long, you want to learn Japanese. Of course, everyone wants to learn Japanese. If you're a VTuber, your first goal is learning Japanese. Don't deny it. I know. I'm a goddess, and I know what you guys want, what your needs are. If you're learning Japanese, which by far, again, a good chunk of you are learning Japanese or want to learn it, go watch native speakers talk in the language and see how the articulation and grammar work. Hi, Zant! Hi, welcome to the stream. Okay, Zach, have a... Matemasu. Okay. And yeah, I put in the whole thing, no anime doesn't count. I'm just gonna put this out right now for those of you learning Japanese. Do not, and I repeat, do not use anime as a source for using Japanese or learning Japanese. Do not use anime, okay? I know many people love to put in the argument that anime, in a way, helps people learn Japanese. But no, it doesn't. It 100% doesn't. Don't be one of those people that goes off saying I learned Japanese by watching a lot of anime. I mean, you can get some sort of sense of learning Japanese from anime, and I'm not discriminating. But it doesn't work when the grammar is kind of all over the place in anime. I don't know how to explain that. Like, I don't know how to explain that in a way that makes sense. But like, what was it? Like, there are certain sense structures in anime that doesn't really work in a way that if you're learning Japanese by watching anime, it doesn't work in a real life scenario. So that's the reason why I'm saying don't use anime as a source to learn Japanese, because the grammar either doesn't work or it's gonna make you sound like you are way high on crack. And I'm not saying that. A lot of the accents are exaggerated. Yes, that is also a good point. That is also a very good point. The accents in anime are exaggerated to high water, and that's not a good way for you to learn Japanese. Don't use konnichiwa, konnichiwa. Don't use konnichiwa, use konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Yeah, I'm sorry to burst your bubbles. I'm sorry to burst people's bubbles. For those of you that learn Japanese by watching anime, 99.9% of the time, the accents are exaggerated and the grammar makes no sense in a way that you can use it in a real life scenario without you sounding like you are completely high. So please don't use anime as a way to learn Japanese, because it doesn't work at all. I'm sorry. Again, use real life people, use real life scenarios to learn Japanese from Japanese native speakers. I know for a fact that a lot of you watch VTubers, and many of you guys say that watching Japanese VTubers helped me get a sense of what Japanese is. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not gonna complain. I know some of you guys probably picked up some Japanese from watching Japanese VTubers. Okay? And I'm not saying don't watch Japanese VTubers. Japanese VTubers are freaking bomb, okay? They're freaking bomb because they're actual full cuties and they speak good Japanese. But don't use anime. Never use the anime. You can use Japanese VTubers though to get a sense of learning Japanese. That's good. Japanese VTubers are bomb, okay? Like, watch some Japanese dramas. Watch some Japanese news articles that are circulating on thing. It's instead of arigato gozaimasu, you ariga thanks. Japanglish. Japanglish. Use ariga thanks. Oh my god. You ariga thanks. Can I just make that a catchphrase now? Again, use dramas, news articles that can give you a bang as to how they speak it and within the politeness range. Because with Japanese, for those of you who do not know or have not watched my Japanese language tips live streams in the past, Japanese basically has a politeness sort of system in how they pronunciate and speak everywhere in Japan. You could say one thing to a friend, but you don't want to say that one sort of sentence to a friend to your boss, because then you're going to be seen as very much unprofessional and rude, okay? I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. So that's why go watch like Japanese dramas and whatnot to see how they speak to like a friend, to how they speak to like a person that they work with in the force. Okay? I at least won't tell you Yamete Kuta, stop it! Yamete Kuta, stop! Oh my gosh, that was a hot phrase. Again, Japanese has a thing where it's like, you say one thing to a friend, that's casual. You say one thing to your boss, formal. You say one thing to like a very high-ranking person, very formal. Also find some videos of natives talking. YouTube has a lot for you to look after, okay? Seriously, there are a lot of Japanese YouTubers on YouTube and on Twitch and literally everywhere on the internet that you can literally listen and see how they address stuff. Yeah, some of them are going to exaggerate how they're talking, especially those Japanese YouTubers that are just doing like a character for their channel brand. But if you like look at Japanese native speakers speaking in a more casual sense, you're going to learn anything. You're going to learn something. I apologize in advance for the rest I may. Nah, not to apologize, my dude. You're fine. You're fine, man. Okay. Go on to the next. Okay. For many languages in this current climate, they have an alphabet. Like I stated, Japanese has an alphabet. I think you all know that. They have a hiragana and katakana chart. Chinese, for the good poor souls that really want to get into Chinese, they have a dictionary size of characters. And like I said in my Chinese learning streams, they have characters that can literally mean different things the way you pronunciate it. That's why I stated in my Chinese streams, pronunciation is key, because you don't want to sound like you are saying the wrong word to someone in Chinese when you mean a completely other thing. And of course, Korean has its own alphabet where you have the vowels and consonants that are the base, and then you have the consonants that are more harsher and aspirated, and the vowels that gets pronounced in a different way because of another like little stroke in it, you know? If you want to learn a language and they have an alphabet that tells you how to spell the words, make sure you find the chart of the alphabet and do like some writing practice. For me, personally, when I was learning German, we had a good chunk of our time making flashcards, making word banks on the alphabet. We even had to write down the alphabet like 10 to 50 times to get the spell, to get like the words in our brains, because I don't know if that sort of technique works for most people. For me, I really do like writing down the vowels or the consonants or the alphabet multiple times so that I could get a good feel as to how they're, you know, like how they're that, and that I don't forget them. And for me, again, you can, if you already know like a basic language like English, or if you already have some knowledge on the Japanese alphabet or the Korean alphabet, try doing a thing where if you are learning another language, write down that vowel and then write down the vowel that it corresponds to in those other different languages, so that you get more practice for your buck, and that it helps you not only remember the thing that you're learning, but also to help you differentiate it from the other languages that you already know or learning, and that you can just remember more stuff, making your brain super stronger. Again, consistency and practice is key. A lot of different languages, though, do have stroke orders and how they are correctly formed. And the three biggest contenders to the stroke order are Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. I do not know, or I'm not informed into other languages that have stroke order. So if anyone knows a language that have like stroke order, just let me know in the comments, okay? Just let me know in the comments. So when it comes to Japanese, Chinese, and Korean, many people tend to overlook that they have a very specific stroke order as to how you should spell them so that the form does not look wonky. And it's very, very important that you follow the stroke orders. Again, there are charts there are charts for Japanese, Chinese, and Korean that literally has the stroke order literally numbered so that you can follow along. Heck, there are Japanese, Chinese, and Korean stroke order like writing sheets that you can find either in a bookstore where you buy a workbook or online because it's the internet and it's the 21st century, that you can literally take and literally go through the stroke orders as many times as you may like until you feel comfortable with it. So going through the alphabet slowly can ease you into how their words are spelled. And I'll go into a very specific example as to how I did it with Korean. But yeah, just keep in mind that many languages that you may like to know have alphabets that have a very, very, very specific stroke order. So if you're learning Japanese, go learn the alphabet first before going head deep into learning words and phrases. Because once you learn like the hiragana and the katakana, then reading the stuff that is not in kanji could be so much easier for you. Heck, you may be reading a manga that has the furigana, or as I stated in my Japanese learning stream, the furigana is basically if you take hiragana, squinch it up, and put it on top of kanji. And that really helps with pronunciation for younger readers or for non-natives in wanting to help with pronunciation and learning to read Japanese. So again, if you do persist in Japanese, make sure you learn the alphabet first, the hiragana and katakana. And if you have Japanese manga with the furigana, take what you learned from the alphabet and apply it to what you're reading in that Japanese manga. You may not know what the words mean. You may not know what they're saying because, of course, manga has panels that you kind of get the emphasis of what they're doing in a scene or in a chapter. But heck, you can literally start reading it just by practicing the alphabet. And again, I even put that point in the PowerPoint. Knowing the alphabet first in some cases can help you read the text without you knowing what it means. Again, very specific example coming up in the next slide. But this is something that many people kind of overlook when they're learning. Because when people want to learn a language, they're all like, heck yeah, dude, I'm just gonna take some Japanese freaking sentences and just start learning some sentences without even freaking knowing what the alphabet is. That's dope! And yeah, that's not a good way you should start. Because when it comes to any language, you need to know the foundation before you go into the wild. And don't just say that you're gonna just pick up some Japanese so you can talk to some anime babes. Because, buddy, you'll be the biggest clown in your class if you do that, okay? You'll be the biggest clown in the circus, dude. Unless that's what you're doing. I'm not shaming you or anything, dude. I'm just saying. Okay. So this is a very specific example of me learning Korean for the first time. And I started learning Korean the beginning of 2020 to about serious learning. Actually, no, I started learning Korean back in like 2019-ish and then buckled down more in 2020. So, annyeonghaseyo, everybody. I do know a bit of Korean. I'm currently studying it and know a couple of words. But for me, starting out learning Korean more specifically, I decided to start learning the Korean alphabet. I know a couple of little things like 사랑해 and 안녕하세요 and 감사합니다, which is like I love you, hello, thank you. Those are the basic sort of phrases that I learned, that I knew from prior experience. Like, I listened to a lot of K-pop songs with my friends. I've watched K-dramas a lot with my friends, so I had a good grasp as to what Korean sounded like. I had a little good grasp as to how Korean words are formed and what they're said. But me, I wanted to learn how to sing those songs. I wanted to learn the story of the K-dramas that I was watching. And I don't know Korean, so what did I do? I decided to start by learning the alphabet. The Korean alphabet has vowels and consonants, but like I said before, the vowels and consonants in Korean kind of differ depending on the context of what being spelled. What are some things you want to tell the Koreaboos out there? To all the K-poppers watching that are probably they're never gonna watch this stream anyway. 감사합니다. 사랑. I'm not. That's too cringy for me. Sorry, but 감사합니다. All you people. But for those of you that are really deep into learning Korean, because I don't know, you want to sing that latest BTS song or something, or you want to sing that Twice song or something, start with the alphabet. You may not know the context of the song, or maybe you do because they do upload their songs with English lyrics anyway, and you know, they do like chant videos and stuff. Don't laugh at me! Don't laugh, okay? I'm being nice. I'm being nice. We don't shame people on this channel, okay? We don't shame people. The Korean language, the Korean alphabet has vowels and consonants, but then you have those consonants that you need to emphasize in a more harsher tone, and then the vowels are also a completely different beast because there's like versions. So for me personally, I started to learn Korean just by first digesting the alphabet, taking examples, writing it down multiple times, having a chart so I could write it down multiple times with the different combinations. And me practicing the Korean alphabet can help me read Korean sentences without me knowing what the words and context behind them means. Like currently, I could literally read small Korean sentences. I can basically read Korean text because I was going through the alphabet. I was going through how they're pronounced, how they're spelled, like how they're used in a sentence. And yeah, the grammar in Korean get a little bit hectic if you're starting from ground zero, but don't worry, you got this, fam. So I may not know what half of the words in Korean means. I think uyu means milk in Korean, but I could be wrong. But as long as I learn the alphabet, I can basically read the sentence and be like, oh, this is what the sentence is in Korean. I don't know what the context is, but as long as I can read it and then go over each of the words and the grammar individually on my own time, then I can basically start to gain a greater sense of learning the language. So again, that's literally my little example of like learning from like the ground zero sort of thing. Again, you don't have to follow what I do. You can do whatever you want. I'm not forcing you or anything, man. And maybe one day you'll sing that Korean song that you really like. I mean, everybody else is. I wish I could, but I can't. You know how much I wanted to do a Korean like karaoke stream of singing K-pop songs, but then I'll get bombarded by copyright in like the first 5 seconds I start the song, so that's canceled. I have to take a drink. I was getting a second way to help practice is by reading. Nobody likes reading. I gotta have a soft spot for reading because I grew up reading a lot of books. And nobody likes reading, but reading, for better or for worse, is another good way for practice. I I have a lot of different resources. I have apps, I have ebooks, I have actual books that literally has like short stories, news articles, and whatnot to help you gain the sense of reading in the different languages. Like, for example, I have this really nice Chinese app. I really have this nice Chinese app that not only has the Chinese characters in short stories, but also has the pronunciation on top, the pinyin. Basically, that's basically like the Romanji of Japanese. For those of you who don't know, Chinese has pinyin, and sometimes the pinyin has the stroke order in which you should pronounce the words. And it really helps with me getting to grips with the stroke order, getting to grips with the sentence structure, getting to grips with how the words are basically pronounced. And Japanese has the same thing. I also have this other app that basically is a combination of hiragana and furigana, where it takes news articles and basically gives you a telegraph, like, I don't know, like a telegraph on what they're saying so that you can follow along and read along with it. Hey, I like reading. I'm not shaming everyone who likes reading. Reading is power. Knowledge is power. Reading is a blessing from the gods, okay? It's a blessing from the gods, and everybody needs to know that. Oh, you people who don't read, what's wrong with you? Oh wait, I live in the void. I count as nobody. You are somebody! You're a somebody! I also live in a void in a kingdom. But you are a somebody. Everybody is a somebody. Hello, Queen. Am I too late? We're almost done with the slide, so you kinda are, I'm sorry. Yes? Iris, will you be my Nuna? Nuna? What's a Nuna? What's a Nuna? I don't know what a Nuna is. We're kind of almost done with the slides, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah. Yeah, you're kind of late to the party. I gave out some good tips and ranted. Gave out some good tips, man. The reading part is definitely going to be hard if you don't know the language. That's for sure. And especially if you're starting from the basic of the basics, it's going to be extremely hard. But if you start with the alphabet, then you can read without knowing the context. For me, I don't know if it will work for you specifically, but for me, yes. Nona means one-san. Oh! Nona is a word used by Korean males to address female older than them who they are close to. It is often used in a romantic relationship. Check please. I don't know if I'm ready to be a Nona yet. I don't know if I'm ready to be a Nona yet. Only makes use Nona. Okay, well now that I'm here. Okay, well now I'm here, so you better start over. Better start over from the beginning. Oh my gosh, wait. That means we gotta go back to my introduction. I don't want to start over the beginning. There's too much backtrack. I didn't even know males only use Nona. I thought anybody can use Nona. What do females use? That's really interesting. I didn't even know that. Let me continue. 90% of times, but as always, there are exceptions. Okay. That seems good to know, man. I didn't even know that. Thank you. Can I just have a check up on how many sips are in the chat? How many sips are in the chat? Wait, this is YouTube. I can totally say that word. It's not like Twitch. We're good, guys. I can say simps on YouTube. No one can get mad at me for that. for some of these apps that I just gave a vague description for, they have like, I don't know if you've seen this on any other language apps, but some of these apps that have short stories have like a mic that has another person reading it so that you can follow along, and then you could also change the speed of the person so that they can read it slower, which is also a very good thing to have in those sort of language building apps. So then you can really digest how they're saying it and how the context of the story goes. You could even take notes as to saying, what does this word mean? What does this sentence mean? What is the context of this part in particular? So when you learn more of the words and that you go back to the story, then it will make way more sense. Is that good?